We at the Cyberwork podcast recognize the COVID-19 pandemic and its resulting impacts to communities in every corner of the globe. Our thoughts are with everyone impacted during these unprecedented times. I want to assure our viewers and listeners that the instructors and staff at InfoSec remain dedicated to you and your organization's success, as well as to your continued health and well-being. Now, here are 3 ways we're supporting our community as we weather this outbreak together. Opportunity number 1, you can immerse yourself in a live online boot camp from the safety of your own home. To help students in this stressful time, InfoSec is extending our exam pass guarantee to all students and waiving the normal requirements. In addition, after your boot camp, you'll get 90 days access to InfoSec Skills, where you can continue to learn with hundreds of on-demand courses, hands-on labs, skills assessments, and more. Through the end of April, you'll also save up to $1,000 on any upcoming online bootcamp enrollment. Opportunity 2, you can help reinforce good cybersecurity habits as employees transition to remote workstations. Use our free remote working training module, infographics, and email template to help keep your employees and organization secure. Opportunity 3, for listeners who are not yet in the cybersecurity field or who are now finding themselves revising their career strategies, please see the link in the description to learn more about the InfoSec Cares Scholarship. It's designed to cover the cost of the Security Plus or Network Plus training course and certification exam you'll need to qualify you for an entry-level cybersecurity position. Stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you as always for tuning in. Now let's start the episode. Welcome to this week's episode of the Cyberwork with InfoSec podcast. Each week, I sit down with a different industry thought leader, and we discuss the latest cybersecurity trends, how those trends are affecting the work of InfoSec professionals, while offering tips for those trying to break in or move up the ladder in the cybersecurity industry. I'm excited to talk to Ryan Wallace of HORNE Cyber for a number of reasons today. He is the Cyber Risk Supervisor and has been certified as an Information Systems Auditor in Risk and Information Systems Control. We haven't had that many cyber risk experts on the show yet, and it's a valuable and growing career field, and I know some of you have been asking about how to break in, so we want to feature that. In addition, I noticed this on his official bio. Ryan joined first in 2014 with previous experience as a small business owner specializing in branding, graphic design, and consulting, as well as a bachelor's degree of accountancy at Mississippi State. And I think this is noteworthy for listeners of Cyberwork, especially because it's important to note that cybersecurity professionals come from all walks of life. You can do your job really well and pursue opportunities in the cybersecurity field, even if you haven't been hacking into government mainframes since childhood, as a few of our guests have. Today, I want to talk with Ryan about his life and career journey to this point, how he found himself interested in cybersecurity, and how he leveraged his non-tech background into an interesting and satisfying career. Ryan Wallace is a cyber risk supervisor at HORNE Cyber, where he specializes in IT risk-related assurance services. He provides analytic expertise regarding policy design and implementation, as well as IT compliance. Ryan also consults on information systems environment compliance and management for public and middle market clients. Ryan joined the firm in 2014 with previous experience, as we said, in small business ownership, specializing in branding, graphic design, and consulting. Ryan earned a Bachelor's of Accountancy at Mississippi State University. And Ryan, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
So most of my interviews start out with a stock question, which is namely, how did you first get interested in computers and tech? And a lot of our guests have stories going back to childhood of Commodore 64s or learning BASIC out of a book from the library. But your story is interesting to me because it seems like you came to tech and cybersecurity later. So can you tell me about your early interests in your schooling and sort of your first career steps before moving over to risk?
Yeah, happy to. So I grew up in a smaller town. You can probably realize from the accent, West Point, Mississippi.
Okay.
So from the South. And I was pretty introverted as a child. And so I found myself working on our family computer most days after school. And so, this was around the mid 90s. And so, it's Windows 95.
Mm-hmm.
Good old solid OS architecture.
Sure.
After graduating high school, I went to a local community college for about a semester, but I really struggled to just find direction. So I took a job at a local ISP, PC repair store. And I guess I did well at the interview, even though at the time I couldn't tell you the difference between a modem and a motherboard.
Right.
So, but the job really solidified, my love for tech, and got me interested in how, I guess, tech influences business.
Okay.
And so, eventually I went back to college, as you stated, I earned my Bachelor's of Accountancy at Mississippi State University. I took a full-time job at my current place of employment afterwards in public and middle market as a financial auditor. And so, it's definitely more financial based than what I do now.
Right.
But, shortly after that, I was offered to assist with our IT audit team at the time, with an engagement. And, I immediately fell back in love with tech and seeing how I could use my current skill set to do what I originally loved. I was offered a full-time track in that direction, and I took it. I love it.
Okay. So you say you went into business for yourself for a while there. So I assume that you had some tech, elements going on. Anytime you start a business, you gotta know something about putting everything together or whatever. But was there a sense of like, maybe a career in tech isn't for me, I'm going to do this thing for a while and see what happens? Or were you always sort of thinking about trying to get back to that?
Yeah, I really loved the tech at the time. However, I was in more of a help desk role, and I really I enjoyed it. I did learn a lot, and I learned some soft skills that really helped, I think, later on for sure. I think at the time I was just in a place of, do I want to do this long term? There's some other options out there, to start my own business. So I thought I would. I was young, so I ventured out.
That's the time to do it. So tell me about your current job role. You're a cyber risk supervisor. So can you tell me what that job entails? Do you oversee a department of risk analysts, or do you just sort of do higher level risk things yourself? And to start at the very beginning, could you, for our listeners, explain the concept of cyber risk as a job title or skill set?
Yeah, absolutely. So cyber risk, the way that we look at it, is definitely more focused on prevention of loss in a business. And so that loss can be financial, and ultimately does become financial. However, a lot of it can be reputational, or take other forms such as loss of culture, and even though it may not be immediately obvious, this sort of eventually goes back to either, misconfiguration of technical implementations, architecture, or, which is most likely, people and processes related to handling that tech. So that's sort of what we focus on there.
Okay. And as a supervisor, are you the head of a department, or are you just sort of at a higher level of doing the same sort of risk analysis?
Yeah, I guess it's more, it's a little both. We the way that we're structured in HORNE Cyber, as a subsidiary of HORNE, which is a business advisory firm, my role is definitely more oversight of our assurance teams, leading engagements, for compliance or HIPAA or service organizations, even generalized, specialized IT risk assessments. And so my role is definitely more leading the team, having that client contact, point of contact. And so that helps.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good. And we're gonna sort of dig down into your sort of day to day, what you do and so forth. But I wanted to go back to this. I keep sort of hammering this point home, but before joining HORNE in 2014, you were a member of an automotive service and parts consulting LLC, sole proprietor of a web and graphic design company, staff accountant for a small healthcare company, and computer technician for a local IT company. So at the top of the show, I wanted to let people know who feel that they're somehow too late to get into cybersecurity if they haven't studied it since birth. So this is going to be a multi-part question, and this is the first part. What security knowledge or skills did you need to acquire before getting this job, or on the job even? What did you and how did you go about that? So you were doing all these other things, and you decided you wanted to move towards risk assessment or cyber risk assessment. did you feel like there was something you needed to learn between what you were doing then and what you're doing now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Great question.
How did that come along?
Yeah. So, I've been a business owner for, both as an LLC member and as a sole proprietor. So I understand a lot of the internal struggles that I guess businesses face. I guess it's a strong urge of mine to help them succeed, any way I can. And so, in the past, I've seen how technology can directly affect that. Whether it's like we mentioned before, misconfiguration of implementations or, knowledge gaps in practice and stuff like that. I guess the move from small business owner to cyber, I definitely felt that knowledge gap for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really worked hard to fill that as quickly as possible. It helped that I had some tech background,
right?
And, local contacts to sort of help coach me through people that have been in the industry, in the IT audit industry specifically.
Okay.
And so that definitely helped.
So you had people around you that you were able to sort of ask and help you sort of, at least know where to start looking for the knowledge that you needed.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Where were those folks? How did you know them?
Surprisingly, not through the channels you probably would think.
Okay.
Some of them I had sort of met along the way in other positions. Some of the people we have here at HORNE, obviously, but others, through local church community. It's crazy. It's a small world.
Yeah, no, and then that, I mean, it's one thing to network at something that's already in your career field, but it's worth noting that just like meeting people, like they open up doors that you wouldn't think of otherwise.
Absolutely.
Come to you later. So the second part of the question is related to your prior skills. In your bio, you noted that you have been able to accrue a variety of experience through your career and that you can bring the task you have, at HORNE Cyber, you've been able to sort of synthesize these things. So I guess my question is, how have your past accomplishments and projects and skills in sort of not tech areas helped you to do your job as a risk analyst better?
Yeah, great question. I would say, as I mentioned earlier, having that firsthand experience as a business owner really gives you a lot of insight into, what really keeps them up at night, right? And so having that sort of perspective as I walk into our engagements really helps frame up where I want to be able to take them, as a company. And we talk a lot here about helping people reach their full potential. And it really is about that. I mean, it's about helping them think through each of the cost benefit, assessments that we do for them and the risks that we've outlined for them and recommendations and think through practically, how's this going to help me, as a business, either get a leg up on the competition or reach and fill this gap that I know I have. So.
Yeah. So that's good. That's sort of an empathy, or so at least a sort of an understanding of what kind of things can go wrong when you're already juggling so many things.
Absolutely.
So walk me through your average day as security risk supervisor. Like, what time do you start work? Where does your work take you in the course of the day? What are your most common tasks? When do you get to be done? Can you turn off from the position? Or are you kind of always on call?
Yeah. So, one of the biggest benefits of working at HORNE, we sort of have something we call unrivaled flexibility in our work. So as a dad of 2 toddlers, that work culture, it allows me to flex in such a way that I can take care of my families and also take care of my engagements and my clients.
Okay.
And so while I do travel face to face, I would say most of the work I do is remote. Many of our clients are appreciative of the fact that we can work remotely with them. It lessens the impact on their daily operations. It also lowers expenses all around. So.
So what sorts of things do you do in the average course of a day? Like, where, okay, so you get in, you got your coffee, you're, at home or at a, like what happens next? Where do you go from there?
Yeah, we have internal team project management, web-based solution that we use. That's sort of where I start.
Okay.
I like to organize, my day and my week, sort of set expectations. Typically we'll have a weekly project management call where we discuss any hurdles with the team and the clients that we're on as a group. So it sort of helps us brainstorm, get a little more outside perspective of the current engagement to work through those issues. And then it's just it's off to the races. I mean, it's, what sections of the assurance audit need to be completed today, and what items are outstanding from clients we need to get in touch with.
Do you get to sort of get your hands dirty and actually do the work, or are you are doing more sort of coordinating?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You do a lot of both?
I get to do both. Yeah. Which I think is probably the best. And so it helps me have that strategic vision, I guess, of where we're taking our company, where we want our clients to go. But then also, I don't lose focus about, what it actually feels like to go in and test and go through each of the granularity.
So where does a position like risk management, cyber risk, stand on the average company hierarchy chart? Who do you report to? Do you have a support staff? Are you largely self-directed, or do you receive feedback and recommendations from the company or the board or someone higher up?
Yeah, great question. So the way we're structured at HORNE Cyber is we're a subsidiary of HORNE LLP, which is a business advisory firm. Where I'm structured in that focus area is what we call it. I'm a supervisor, so I work under a manager position. Mm-hmm. I also have the opportunity to be an advisor, which is essentially I have a direct report of one of our associates. And so I guess more corporately, we plan our audits and assign personnel strategically to work on each of our audits. On a field level, I'm typically the main point of contact for the client. And so that gives me a lot of freedom, from a consulting sort of basis. So.
Okay. So in general, are security risk analysts or supervisors usually employed by a single company? It sounds like you are, or is this something that is also could be a freelance or consultancy position by nature?
Yeah. I've seen both. Obviously I'm employed by HORNE. However, I know people that work under their own shingle and have done great. And so it's definitely a mix. So.
Is it a sort of thing where you could sort of break off onto your own and go freelance after you've done it with a firm, or is it possible to just jump in freelance? Because I feel like it seems like you would need the structure of like doing it with a company first to sort of know the parameters, and then you could go onto your own. But I don't know, I'm thinking of people who might be in like Wyoming or something. It's like, I want to do this, but there's no places around, or I just threw out Wyoming randomly, but you get the idea.
Right, sure. Yeah, I've been to Wyoming. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say, obviously, with the resources of a firm like HORNE behind me, there's definitely a lot of, knowledge that I can accrue. There's a safety there, right? And that, I have a wealth of resources around me.
Right.
I do know people that have done it on their own. Mm-hmm. It's harder, obviously. I mean, there's higher risk person. But from I guess from a consultant standpoint, there's also more flexibility. If you were to launch out on your own, obviously you can sort of set your own path,
right,
strategically. And so, yeah.
Okay, so let's do sort of a round of bests and worsts. What do you think are the most interesting parts of being a cyber risk analyst or supervisor, and what are the most difficult and most repetitive parts that you don't like?
So, like I mentioned before, seeing a business improve and growing, that's one of the most rewarding parts of my job. I would say the most difficult, repetitive parts usually come in the form of just the administrative, job duties, the daily grind, such as the paperwork that's required with each audit.
Right.
Especially compliance audits, there's very specific requirements there. I would say I would say as far as what I know this is one of your questions, and maybe jumping ahead, but as far as what stresses me out,
right,
keep me up at night, I would say our new clients are first year clients for sure, especially those clients who may be in an emerging sector, or they've experienced a sudden growth and boom in their business. You always worry about missing some risk, that may not be on your radar, how that could impact them. So,
are there any particular sort of, obviously it is very satisfying to sort of, keep these companies safe and so forth, but sort of on a granular level, are there certain sort of like problem solving or, nitty gritty things that you especially like doing? Or is there a certain thing where you're like, all right, we're going to do this and it's totally rad when it works out,
Yeah, absolutely. On a granular level, we work a lot with testing matrices. And so, as boring as that sounds,
sounds great.
Right. Knowing where you're going with that really allows you to map out risk and think through your team and sort of this holistic approach. And so, I would say that's probably the most, the thing that I enjoy the most on the granular level is just that in black and white. So
that I can totally see that. Like you can sort of see the magic happening at that point, I imagine.
Absolutely.
So what type, sort of tied to that, what types of activities, projects, or actions should you really enjoy doing if you're considering security risk as a job? Because there's jobs where you think, well, it'll be great, I'm going to help businesses do things. Then you realize, oh my God, I'm doing this same thing for 6 hours a day. Like you better really like it. So what are some examples of that type of thing in risk positions?
Yeah, I would say in my position, sort of the standard internal audit, job requirements would really apply here. So attention to detail, the ability to ask questions to get to the root of a problem, willingness to, and this is really a tough one for me, but willingness to ask tough questions of clients that may have more industry experience than you do. They know the industry better, or they know the business obviously better than we do. But asking those tough questions, I would say, is a must, because you really uncover a lot through just communication.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about some of the soft skills like that. I'm any cybersecurity position where you're facing the public, you need to be able to sort of talk without talking down and report in a lucid way. But what are some other sort of surprising like soft skills that you need in risk?
Yeah, it really, I guess it starts with knowing a client. I hope that's not an easy response, but it really does start with knowing your client, knowing their industry. Those are very easy things to be able to do, but not a lot of people take the time to do them. The internet is a vast resource for getting to know your clients, understanding the news around their company, reading anything you can on their strategic vision, seeing where they want to go. Those are definitely some skills, I would say, bringing those to the table when you have that initial contact meeting with the client, and showing that you've invested time in learning, who they are and what they're about, really helps.
So your bio notes that you hold both the Certified Information Systems Auditor, or CISA, and Certified in Risk and Information Systems Controller, CRISC certifications. Tell me about the process of learning, studying for, and passing these certs, and what these skills, these cert skills provided you in terms of practical experience.
Yeah, great question. I would say in our current focus area, the CISA is considered sort of a baseline measure of competency for the work that we do. It's very focused on audit, as opposed to other cyber certifications, maybe more focused on technical requirements. CRISC is considered a 3 to 5 year competency measure exam. So there's a higher focus on managing business risk from a cyber perspective on a governance level. And so it really is more about, at that point in the career chain, transitioning from the field level work to getting more in front of executive management, higher management, board level, and having those conversations around risk in their cyber programs.
So how far into, being a risk manager before you studied? I guess so you must have taken the C-risk pretty recently, since you've been doing risk for 4 years now?
I did, yeah.
Or 6 years?
Yes. Last September, I took it and passed.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say CISA is definitely a 1 to 2 year competency measure. When we first have new associates, they may not have any certifications at all, and that's typically the first one that we try to get them to achieve for that reason.
Do you have any sort of tips or advice, having gone through these exams, for studying for them, things that you don't need to bother with, or things that you really need to sort of hit on, anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So both exams are certified through SOCA. Mm-hmm. They have a great, I would say definitely buy the book. Mm-hmm. Even though you think you may not need it, you will. And then it's also a great resource afterwards. And then the multiple choice questionnaires were very helpful.
Yep.
And most recently, at least when I took my C-risk exam in September, ISOC had upgraded their multiple choice questionnaire to be more adaptive. And so you could really analyze your gap areas, and so you could go back and read the book and build that knowledge. So
nice. Could you walk me through the various steps in a career in cyber risk? So I think you sort of mentioned it before. There's risk analysis, which I guess is sort of like the entry, and then you're a risk supervisor, and then you said there's a risk manager above you. Are there further steps within the risk chain above that? And what are the scope and responsibilities within each of these roles?
Yeah. Our risk analysts are typically year one associates. Mm-hmm. Minimal to no previous cybersecurity experience. Yet they typically have a background in audit, and in many cases, a previous role in tech, such as mine. Our risk analysts typically are assigned non-complex portions of the engagement to build their knowledge base. The next level up is the senior risk analyst. Typically, at this role, there's some level of responsibility for reviewing a level one or a risk analyst work upon their completion, and then really guiding them, thinking through the risk for whatever work that risk analyst is working on. Mm-hmm. And then the next level would be my current level, the cyber risk supervisor. My role involves oversight from the planning of the engagement down to the logistics, our testing approach, and then our risk analysis all the way through to the report or the deliverable. And then past that, our managers are really focused on looking at multiple simultaneous engagements, and then having obviously a big part to play in the business strategy. So.
Okay. Now, this is something that sort of came to me, like the risk analysis department. How are you sort of, do what you do, is it interacting or integrated with other portions of HORNE Cyber? Like once you've done your risk and analysis, how do you sort of pass the project on to like another part of your company that deals with, I don't know, implementation or things like that?
Oh yeah, no, that's great. Typically the engagements that we have, there's some sort of standard or baseline, framework that we're using. Mm-hmm. Depending on the engagement type, there may be requirements for that. So like a HIPAA engagement, obviously we're going to have that. From an internal perspective, we do have a security division in HORNE with some pretty renowned pen testers. And so we do have that security side of things, that vulnerability examination side and that function. And so depending on the engagement scope, we may include them in a practical standpoint, so actually have them go in and perform some work. But typically we use them from a consulting standpoint, just thinking through, additional risks that we may not be aware of from a highly technical standpoint.
Got it. Okay. So what advice would you give as someone who jumped from a tech positions into cybersecurity? What advice would you have for people who are looking to make a career switch into cybersecurity, but might feel intimidated by the tech knowledge barrier?
Yeah, great question. I would encourage someone who feels like they'd be interested in this field to really look into what they love doing about their current roles. I would say, do you have an interest in technology? I think that's a good start. And sort of thinking past that, do you have an interest in how technology risk can impact a business? If that sounds like something that you're drawn to, I think you're a perfect candidate for what we do.
Yeah, and it sounds like your analysts, like you said, they come in with no sort of baseline knowledge, and so is that pretty common if you jump over to being an analyst? Are most companies that would hire you it's understood that they're going to train you with what they need?
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting the way that we're currently set up. We're definitely sort of coming from this audit role. However, a lot of people that are in this role start from a more technical background. So they go through their A+ and Network Plus and Security Plus and, go through that sort of route. And so there's definitely two ways to get to the same path, I guess.
Right. Okay. And do you as a supervisor, do you notice sort of different qualities in those two different types of candidates that sort of complement each other?
Yeah. So from a technical background, there's definitely a lot of thought around the practical implementation specifics or, risk on that level. And then from an audit perspective, there's a focus on business continuity, and thinking through sort of the strategic plan of the business and how that impacts the current risks that we're looking at. So yeah, they definitely complement each other.
Nice. So from an interview perspective, what are some things that you can put on a resume or in your cover letter or talk about in your interview that would make your prospective employer know that you'd be great for this job, even if you don't have the usual signposts to indicate it on your resume?
Yeah, that's a good one. I would say learning everything that you can, looking for ways to engage with even your current IT department in your role is a great start. Those people are boots on the ground, so they do have a very great knowledge of how cyber risk can impact a business on a practical level. I would say getting your certification if you have sort of an audit background or even a business advisory role or something like that could be met by one of the requirements to get the CISA. CISA is highly regarded in our current role, and we've seen that at multiple companies and at a national level for sure. So
okay, so a CISA certification is something you can pretty much start studying immediately. It's not like C-Risk where you have this you need to have this baseline of knowledge and even sort of like an experience tally before you can even take the test.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the requirements are lower just due to the years of experience needed versus a C-Risk. So yeah.
Okay. So if you find yourself in a position or career that you don't like and you're trying to make a switch towards cyber risk, what's one thing you can do at your current position or after work or on the weekends that would move you one step closer to sort of getting on this path?
Yeah, depending on your work, there may be some existing opportunities there with assisting cybersecurity jobs. That's how I got started. There's also a host of free, low-cost information out there to understand industries, and podcasts, obviously like this one, to get some real insight.
You're catching the mail.
To get some insight into where the industry's headed as a whole, so that you can get in front of it. And then in my case, it helped to identify a cybersecurity professional that's local and reach out to them. I've yet to meet a cyber professional that doesn't like talking about what they do day to day.
True. Yeah. Who are the people in your neighborhood? So, as we wrap up today, are there any advancements coming in the world of cyber risk that you're watching or looking forward to? I know it's not quite as tech focused as, say, penetration testing or whatever, but are there any sort of procedural changes or tools or analytics that you can see changing the way you do your job in, say, the next 5 or 10 years?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sort of our focus here, especially this year as we go into 2020, is all about the customer experience.
Okay.
And so, we've changed the way we do audits and our engagements to meet, high functioning customer experience companies, like Disney. We're really focused on, I guess, how that can be, how our current processes can be introduced to improve that customer experience for our clients. And so, on a practical level, that may look like governance, risk, and compliance platforms that we introduce to them, internal to us, to help make that experience better. So.
Okay. So as we wrap up today, tell me a little bit about HORNE Cyber. What are some of the big projects or exciting tasks that you're currently working on there?
So most recently, HORNE Cyber is really focused on the cybersecurity maturity model certification, CMMC, that's big in the news today. We've already developed sort of our risk-based strategy testing approach to help, the companies, contractors out there that will be getting this. So I guess that's probably the biggest thing we're working on right now.
Okay. And if people want to know more about Ryan Wallace or HORNE Cyber, where can they go online?
HORNEcyber.com. It's our company's website. We have a lot of regular articles on there from both our assurance team and our pen testing team. So you get the best of both perspectives, I think, in addressing changes in the industry. On a personal level, you can find me on pretty much any social network.
Okay.
I'm at Cruel Bowtie. It's a moniker.
Okay. Was it Cruel Bowtie?
A Cruel Bowtie, yeah.
Yeah, nice. Cruel Bowtie. Okay, yes.
From the accounting side, the accounting.
Oh, sure. All right. Well, this is great. Ryan, thank you so much for your insights today.
Thanks so much, Chris.
And thank you all for listening and watching. If you enjoyed today's video, you may find many more on our YouTube page. Just go to youtube.com and type in Cyberwork with InfoSec to check out our collection of tutorials, interviews, and past webinars. If you'd rather have us in your ears during your workday, all of our videos are also available as audio podcasts. Just search Cyberwork with InfoSec in your favorite podcast catcher of choice. And for a free month of the InfoSec Skills platform that you heard about at the start of today's show, just go to infosecinstitute.com/skills and sign up for an account. And in the coupon line, type Cyberwork, all one word, all small letters, no spaces, for your free month. Thank you once again to Ryan Wallace and HORNE Cyber, and thank you all for watching and listening. We will speak to you next week.